They left me on the side of a highway in the middle of a thunderstorm because they believed my sister. Not because they had proof, not because I confessed to something terrible, but because she cried first. Before I tell you what happened next, and why my father's hands shook years later when he saw the man who saved me, take a second to like this video, comment where you're watching from, and subscribe if you believe the truth always comes out eventually. My name is Madison Hale. I was 15 years old the night my childhood ended. It started with a scream. My younger sister, Chloe, burst into the living room sobbing, mascara streaked down her cheeks like war paint. My parents rushed toward her instantly. They always did. Chloe was fragile, sensitive. The golden child wrapped in silk and protection. I was the opposite, quiet, independent, the strong one. She pushed me, Chloe choked out. She tried to hurt me. I stood frozen in the hallway, still holding my school backpack. What? I whispered. My mother's eyes snapped to mine, already cold. Madison. What did you do? I didn't touch her, I said. I just told her to stop going through my phone. Chloe sobbed harder. She hates me. She said she wishes I wasn't born. I never said that, but my words didn't matter. Chloe had tears, and tears in our house were evidence. My father didn't yell. He rarely did. He just looked disappointed, the worst kind of punishment. Get in the car, he said. Dad, now. Rain had already started falling when we pulled out of the driveway. No one spoke. The air inside the car felt thick, suffocating. After 10 minutes, my father took the next exit and pulled onto the shoulder of an empty road lined with trees. The storm was getting worse, lightning tearing through the sky. Get out, he said. I laughed, thinking it was a sick joke. Dad, you need to think about what you've done, my mother added quietly. We won't tolerate violence in this family. I didn't do anything, my voice cracked, but my father had already unlocked the doors. You can walk home. Maybe the rain will cool you off. Home was 7 miles away. I stepped out because I didn't know what else to do, and then they drove away. I remember the sound of the tires on wet pavement more than anything. The red glow of the taillights is shrinking. The way my chest felt like it had caved in. They left me. Lightning cracked so loudly it made me flinch. Within seconds, I was drenched. My sneakers are filled with water. Cars passed occasionally, splashing through puddles, none stopping. I started walking. At first, I was angry, furious. I rehearsed speeches in my head about how unfair this was. But after 20 minutes, anger turned into fear. It was dark. The trees were thick. My phone battery was at 3%. Then I heard it. A truck is slowing down behind me. My heart stopped. I didn't turn around. The truck rolled alongside me, the window lowering slowly. You okay? A male voice called out. Every warning I'd ever been taught screamed inside my head. Don't talk to strangers. Don't get in cars. Run. But I was soaked, shivering, alone. The driver stepped out, hands raised slightly as if he didn't want to scare me. He looked maybe mid-30s. Beard, worn flannel jacket, concerned eyes. It's not safe to walk out here, he said gently. Storm's getting worse. I'm fine, I lied. He glanced down the road. You're not fine, I hesitated. My name is Daniel, he said. I live 10 minutes from here. I've got a daughter about your age. You can call someone from my phone, or I can drive behind you with hazards on so cars see you. He wasn't pushy. That's what made me pause. He gave me options, not orders, not threats. Options. Another bolt of lightning split the sky and I jumped involuntarily. Please, he said softly. Just until the rain calms down. I don't know why I trusted him. Maybe because he didn't treat me like a problem. Maybe because my own parents had just proven they weren't safe. I nodded. He opened the passenger door but stayed outside until I climbed in. That small gesture saved something in me. His house was modest, warm, filled with the smell of soup. A teenage girl peeked around the corner, curious but not afraid. This is Lily, he said. Lily, this is Madison. She smiled at me like I wasn't a criminal. I used Daniel's phone to call home. No one answered. He didn't ask questions until I was dry and wrapped in a blanket. When I finally told him what happened, he went quiet. They left you, he asked slowly. I nodded. He looked toward the hallway where his daughter stood. Something in his expression changed. Protective, angry. "You can stay here tonight," he said. "I'll drive you home in the morning." I should have felt embarrassed. Instead, I felt safe. The next morning, he drove me home. My parents were outside, arms crossed. Relief flickered across my mother's face for half a second before it hardened again. "Where were you?" she demanded. "Where was I repeated. My father ignored Daniel completely. Chloe stood behind them, watching me, and she smirked. Just for a second, that's when I knew she lied on purpose. Daniel stepped forward. "You left her in a storm." "That's not okay," my father stiffened. "This is a family matter. It stopped being just a family matter when you abandoned a minor on a highway." The word abandoned hung in the air. My parents didn't apologize, they didn't thank him. They simply told me to go inside. That day changed everything. I stopped defending myself, stopped arguing, stopped expecting fairness. I started planning, not revenge in a dramatic sense. Survival. Daniel checked on me occasionally after that night. He never crossed boundaries, just made sure I was okay. And over time, he became something my own father was. Consistent. Years passed. Chloe thrived, perfect grades, perfect image. I worked part-time, saved money, and counted down the days until I turned 18. On my graduation night, Chloe gave a speech about family support. I almost laughed. When I left for college, my parents didn't cry. But Daniel did, and that's when I made a silent promise. One day, they would understand what they did, not through screaming, not through revenge. Through truth, but truth takes time. And years later, when my father walked into a room and saw Daniel standing there next to me, not as a stranger, but as family, that's when his hands began to tremble. He just didn't know it yet. And he definitely didn't know what I had prepared. Years passed before the moment finally arrived. By then, I was no longer the soaked 15-year-old standing on the side of a road. I was 28, independent, established, calm, and married to Daniel's brother. Life has a strange sense of irony. After that stormy night, Daniel and his family stayed loosely connected to me. Holiday texts, occasional check-ins. When I moved out at 18, it was Daniel who showed up with a pickup truck to help carry my boxes. My parents didn't come. Chloe cried when I left, dramatic, performative tears. My mother held her like she'd lost something precious. No one hugged me. College was freedom. I studied social work. Maybe because I knew what abandonment felt like. Maybe because I wanted to be the adult I never had. Through Daniel, I met his older brother, Ethan. Ethan was of quiet strength, observant. The kind of man who listened more than he spoke. He knew about the storm. Daniel had told him, but he never treated me like something broken. We fell in love slowly, safely. And when he proposed 5 years later, it felt like stepping into a life built on solid ground. I didn't invite my parents to the engagement dinner, not out of spite, out of clarity. But word got around. Chloe found my engagement photos online and suddenly wanted to reconnect. My mother called for the first time in months. "We saw the announcement," she said carefully. "Why didn't you tell us?" I paused. "You left me in a storm," I said evenly. "We're not close." Silence. "That was years ago," she snapped. "You're still holding on to that." I almost laughed. Holding on to it, I nearly died, but I stayed calm. "I forgave you," I said. "I just don't trust you. There's a difference." They insisted on coming to the wedding. I agreed. Not because I needed them, but because I wanted witnesses. The wedding day arrived bright and clear, no storms in sight. As I stood at the altar, I saw them in the second row. My father looked older. Smaller somehow, Chloe looked flawless. During the reception, Daniel gave a speech. He talked about family, about second chances. About how sometimes the people who rescue you aren't the ones who share your last name. My father shifted in his seat. Then Ethan stood. "I want to thank someone special," he said. "If it weren't for my brother Daniel, I might never have met Madison. Years ago, he picked her up during a storm when no one else would." The room quieted. My father's head snapped up. "He didn't just give her a ride," Ethan continued. "He showed her what safety feels like." Daniel smiled softly from across the room. And that's when it clicked for my father, the man who rescued me. The man who saw his failure. The man who stepped in where he stepped out. They were connected. His hands trembled slightly as he lifted his glass. After the speeches, my father approached Daniel. "You're the one," he said stiffly. Daniel didn't gloat. He didn't accuse. He simply replied, "She deserved better." Those 3 words hit harder than any scream ever could. Later that night, Chloe cornered me. "You're really milking this victim story, huh?" I looked at her carefully. "You lied," I said quietly. She shrugged. "You always made everything about you." There it was, not jealousy, not insecurity, entitlement. "I was 15, I said. "You could have corrected them." She rolled her eyes. "It wasn't that serious." Not that serious. Lightning flashed in my memory, the empty road. The red taillights are disappearing. I smiled calmly. "You're right," I said. "It wasn't that serious." And that's when I decided something. Revenge doesn't have to be loud. Sometimes it's distance. Sometimes it's success. Sometimes it's letting people watch you thrive without access. After the wedding, I cut contact completely, blocked numbers, changed emails, built a life without them. Years later, my father showed up at my office. Older, grayer. "I need to talk," he said. We sat across from each other like strangers. "I found out," he began slowly. Chloe admitted she lied. I felt nothing. She said she was jealous, said she didn't think we'd actually leave you. My jaw tightened. "But we did," I replied. His eyes filled. "I'm sorry." There it was, the apology, late, fragile. "Do you know what I remember most?" I asked. Not the rain, not the fear, the silence. When I called home, no one answered. His shoulders collapsed slightly. "I failed you." "Yes," I said softly. "You did." He looked toward the window. "Can you forgive me?" I thought about the girl I was, soaked, alone, and the man who stepped out of his truck with options instead of accusations. "I already forgave you," I said. "But forgiveness doesn't rebuild trust." He nodded slowly. Before leaving, he asked, "Do you still talk to Daniel?" "He's family," I replied. That word seemed to break something inside him. Not because I replaced him, but because he realized he'd replaced himself. Chloe tried reaching out too, but I didn't respond. Her regret came when she needed something, financial help, a place to stay. I wished her well, from a distance. Years later, when I held my newborn daughter in my arms during another thunderstorm, I made a quiet promise. No matter what lies are told, no matter who cries first, I will always listen to her voice. The storm outside passed quickly, unlike the one from my childhood, but I wasn't that girl anymore. I was the woman who survived it, and the man who rescued me. He still shows up every Sunday for dinner. My father sometimes joins us now. He's quieter, gentler. He watches Daniel with something close to gratitude and something even closer to regret. His hands don't tremble anymore, but they did the first time he realized the truth. And sometimes that's enough, because real justice isn't watching someone fall. It's watching them finally understand, and living well anyway.